different than reviewing movies or reviewing TV. You have to invest a lot more money and a lot more time into what you're reviewing. And because of that, it's more an investment to the writer, and so it sort of feels like an obligation that you want to be able to say something good about that game. And to be honest, every time you review something, you always want to try and say something good about it. You may not be able to, but that's always your goal going into it. It's to drive someone to watch that thing, or read that thing, or play that game.
Yes. Oh, no, there was the guy behind you. Sorry. Sorry, we'll get you next.
What role do you feel game journalism, particularly independent game journalism, plays in improving toxic behavior within the games community? Notably, this year we've seen several very public outbursts of sexism and racism within the games community and also within the game community. How do you feel that journalism is mitigating that, or do you feel that's keeping the role of journalism to mitigate that?
Well, one thing that might be an example is if you can use social media to gain traction against people, like the guy who was, I can't remember his name, he was living on, he did a bunch of really sexist shit, you probably know what I think it was Christmas. If you have enough traction to post that something on Reddit, you can publish these guys to say how to screw it up or whatever, because the advantage of being online is it's so easy to get crashed with so fast, unlike traditional. So I think we play a very important part in being able to do that, because we are held accountable to doing it ourselves. So if we see something that's really bullshit, we can call it. And that's kind of a price you pay, because game developers, we know. We who say, these are all watching, it's not necessarily bad, it's exactly separate. We're willing to call people out on things, as long as we're on that, we've got to do certain things. You're going to part of the game journalism, online, you have to be able to quote things and have streaming on. Like everybody that's really very ready to man things about. So I think we've made a difference in changing some policy in certain companies, like certain storytelling, which are now trying to so I think we've made a difference.
It also depends on the places, you know. Some place like IGN, as much as I appreciate the site and everything, they're going to have a little bit more sway over, you know, things like that than we would. But then again, you know, we also see a lot of things every day building from a small website. So it really all depends on, you know, I think where it starts and who gets a hold of it. So it can be things like that. But I think this is definitely the age with the internet and everything of things becoming bigger because a lot of other people say so. So if we're going to see the change in sexism in games, in comic books, and things like that, any other types of, you know, racism or anything, any change like that, I think that this is a better place to start now than it would have been 5, 10 years ago. So,
the thing is that game news journalism is not monolithic, so I think that there are a lot of forces that don't really see it as their role to combat sexism or anything like that. They're looking for hits. It's a business. And like lots of other forms of journalism, you know, controversy sells. Why else would sports talk radio talk about Tim Tebow for an entire year when he didn't start one game? Shut up. You know, it's just, and so it's one of those things that, unfortunately, I think a lot of the big guys, I don't name names, but I think some might pop in your head, games, journalism sites that will just report controversy and be like, oh, look what this person said, blah, 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 and leave it at that. I think it's another question whether or not it's the role of journalism to combat such things. And then there's another conversation we had about the two roles. There's the news portion and there's the editorial portion, you know, and it's really up to each. So it's to say journalism as a whole, there's a lot of different working parts here, and it's a very long conversation we had.
I think along the lines of that, I mean, there's definitely a number of cases in any form of journalism, game journalism included, where the strive for getting people impassioned or riled up is so tempting because it draws so much attention that it can be any sort of potential controversy, even if it's in actuality a non-controversy when all the information is laid out. But if you early report on something that might be sexist or racist or xenophobic or other sort of controversy thing that can give the community nailed, it can really drive attention. And whether that's fostered from the community or from the site itself, realistically, the best that you can do as any sort of cyber, as any sort of member of the community is just strive for making sure to keep things as reasoned and level-headed as possible, approach any potential controversy with the mentality of understanding what the scope of the situation is and otherwise. But like I mentioned before, I think I can reinforce that the youth state of the industry and the journalism industry itself kind of fosters a bit of that, along with the fact that it's the age of the internet and we're talking about people who are deeply impassioned and what they like, in terms of games and otherwise. So they're more willing to jump on things that play into that passion.
And also, I would almost say even that that's also up to you guys too. I mean, we can be the ones who say, oh yeah, we found this in this game, but then it comes to you guys. If you disagree with that, don't buy the game. It's ultimately your pocketbooks that make those changes. And games have been won and lost because of that, because we think it's wonderful, but you guys haven't bought it. We can do the opposite thing. We can say, we don't like it. So yeah, just don't buy it, and so it ultimately even comes down to you too. So your voices make that heard as well. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, okay. Do you have a more interesting question than Alex?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
I was to tie into what you just said about if you had to pick one game that the most underappreciated game you've played, what would you be?
The most underappreciated game that we have played. Go ahead. You got a chance to start talking about it.
Well, I haven't played a lot of games, so I don't know if my answers are really count.
Give me 20 minutes.
Give me a few.
Not nearly enough people love the sequel world as much as I do.
One game I think that was really underappreciated this generation was a game by Ninja Theory called Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Did anybody play that game? 2 people. So they're the guys that are doing the new Devil May Cry reboot. They did Eternal Sword, I think, or whatever that is. Heavenly Sword, yeah, that's the one. And that game is like incredible. Like Andy Serkis, the guy who plays Gollum, plays the main character, and like the facial recognition is like on par with LA Noire almost. It's really incredible. It's like kind of like Uncharted almost. There's a lot of platform, a lot of action, kind of like a colorful post-apocalyptic world. It's really good, and it's probably super cheap now because nobody's buying it. So yeah, totally Enslaved. Check it out.
I'm just going to take the high road and say Eternal Darkness 70's Requiem, one of the best survival horror games I've ever played. I don't know, I'm just going with it. Shut up, John.
Okay, here's what I can come up with. Penguin Adventure. Minority Report, Everybody Runs. Phantom 2040. Streets of Rage 3.
I know Ash.
One game was a few years ago. I know it's unappreciated because it's just a flash game, but it's called One Chance. And
Yes, I know.
basically, if you haven't played it, it's kind of an adventure game in which you're only supposed to play it once. You're never supposed to replay the game. It's designed in such a way that it can kind of detect your browser, and if you try to play it again, it won't let you. So you only get one shot. There are ways around this, and you can kind of cheat to go through it again. But the whole concept is you only really have one chance at why you're going to participate. Just all these decisions you have to make. And it's actually very clever, and it's free. So you can just Google it and One Chance.
Oh, also, a Bobo's Big Adventure is awesome.
Yeah! It's so bad.
Is it wrong that I want to say Ju-on the Garage Haunted House Simulator?
Ju-on the Garage.
Jeff, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'd actually say Katawa Shoujo. It's an American. I did review one. It's an American game that was based out of 4chan. They had this whole idea, and as soon as you hear 4chan, you think, oh my god, that's horrible. And then as soon as you hear it's a dating sim, you're like, that's pretty bad. And then you hear it's a dating sim about, crippled girls. You have fans. Oh my god, that's the worst thing impossible. Honestly, it took 5 years in production. It went away from 4chan, and it has the most beautiful story. People still send me stories. Oh, I love the girl story. It will make you cry, and it's a wonderfully done story. And there's a lot of people who are handicapped who have written me back and said, yes, that's a great game, or I didn't know about this game. I feel good about it because it gives you a positive light on this type of thing. But people don't watch it or play because there's several things that are kind of bad about it. But it's actually very, very good and very underappreciated. Anybody else? No, please, yeah, sure.
I always thought that this was kind of a well-liked game for the 360, but apparently it's not. Lost Odyssey. Apparently people hate it. I thought it was great.
According to Transmission, also both you and he crying around.
One game that I think is underappreciated, I get a lot of hate for this, is Halo ODST.
I fucking love that game.
So, honestly,
high five right here.
right, it's got some of the best music in the entire series, some of Marty O'Donnell's best work, and it's a shooter, but it's very atmospheric, and that's what I like about it. It's different than the other Halos, when people bitch about, oh, it's just an expansion pack. Yeah, but I still had a great time with it. That's the thing, and like I said, I've had Angry Joe tear a strip off me, because he's like, you like ODST? And like I said, I don't think people physically hit me for that comment, but yeah, that would be my underappreciated game.
Time Splitters 2 and Time Splitters Future Perfect. Love those games. If you've never heard of them, it's made by the same people, a lot of the same team that did GoldenEye on the N64, on the PS2, the Xbox, the GameCube. Fantastic games. The community for a while now has been trying to get Cryotech to release Time Splitters 4 and Time Splitters HD collection. Now they're kind of settled on, let's try to get Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect re-released on the Xbox Live Arcade and the PS3 library. So if you ever get the chance, support that because it's a fantastic game. It's some of the best multiplayer I've ever played.
You don't do anything about underappreciated games. But maybe you know this one.
Here we go. Obligatory Earthbound reference. Okay. Actually, I don't even know if that's underappreciated anymore. It's been, it's too well known. But other
necessarily the well-known means.
appreciated. I think it's pretty well appreciated. It's more appreciated than it's ever been. But anyway, I was actually going to say Dragon Quest VIII is, Dragon Quest has never really gotten a great shake in America, but if you are a fan of JRPGs, this came out for PS2. It was done by Level 5, who also did Dragon Quest IX and Dark Cloud games and Professor Layton games and Inokuni, which just came out on PS3. But yeah, Dragon Quest VIII to me is the perfect JRPG. It doesn't do a lot that's crazy innovative or anything, but it's just like really boiled down to perfection. It's beautiful, the artwork, the music, the voice acting even is very good, and it's just a very solid system. I recommend that, definitely. It's most well known at the time for its Final Fantasy XII demo, which is sad.
This one might get me crucified here because this isn't one of those games that's disappeared into obscurity. This is a game that people have actively attempted to forget because they loathed it when it came out. Now that game isn't fun for anything. That game's no. But this is a game that I actually like that everyone and their mother hates. Now, this is one of those things where it's hated not because it was a bad game, but because it was a bad game in its series. Like Resident Evil 5, this is not the game I chose, but Resident Evil 5, I actually had fun playing it, but it's my least favorite game in the series because it's a good game, it's not a good Resident Evil game. So, in that vein, let me live after this, I swear to God, Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet. Is it a good Star Fox?